Alright everyone, today we're finally talking about and reviewing my Zastava Arms Zpap M70. This is their model that is the newer one with the 1.5mm receiver and the bulged trunnion. What I mean by bulged trunnion is the front trunnion is reinforced a little bit thicker. I think you see these typically on some of the RPKs, but we're going to be reviewing this gun today, kind of talking about it. Now keep in mind, I'm not an AK expert. Before we get going though, I do want to say thank you to the sponsor of this channel, Route 66 Shooting Sport Park down in San Bernardino, California, as well as Shall Not Comply, the people who handle all of my merch. I'm so thankful to have both of them supporting me. Use the link in the description to get merch. Check out Route 66. They're an awesome company. I'm so glad to be working with the people that I work with. So we're going to start with the features of this gun. Now I know Garand Thumb typically goes from tip to butt, but we're going to kind of go ass to mouth and mix it up in between. So when I got this gun, it originally had the polymer furniture. At a later time when I got it, put on some wood furniture, which I got from Apex Gun Parts. This furniture was made in the USA to comply with all the 922R. I'm not a 922R expert. I don't really think too much about it, so make sure you're aware of that stuff. So rear is just a wood buttstock. Now in the state of California, I gotta have this fin grip when I show it to you on camera so that I don't get my cheeks clapped by the DOJ. Now this is a Strike Industries fin grip with, I believe, a AK thumb grips. Basically, it's a thumb grip that slides in underneath this grip. This gives you a little bit more control. When you're running with a gun and you have a fin grip on it, not having your thumb wrapped around the rear can make it a little bit more front heavy and more likely to slip out of your hand. Triggers. A lot of people really love putting in the AK ALG trigger. I bought one of those. I never installed it. Now, the reason is because AK triggers, they work well. There's really nothing wrong with them. They got some over travel, they got some pre-travel, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like Garand Thumb, we're gonna ghost this trigger for you real quick. So just right here. Boom. A little bit of over travel, a little bit of pre-travel, but the break itself is actually very clean. You can shoot this reasonably fast, but I've heard some questionable reliability issues from people that shoot a lot with the ALG trigger, and that's something that for me, I bought an AK. I didn't want to make the gun unreliable. So yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose, right? So for me, I did not install the ALG AK trigger, but I know a lot of people love doing that. Up to the front of the gun, standard rear sight. The rail on the top is actually the Ultimac gas tube rail. So this required a good amount of fitting, but we'll talk about that in the fit and finish. This is a gas tube rail that allows you to mount any sort of red dot. I guess you could also mount some lights. Keep in mind, AKs get hot. This is the piston, the gas piston tube where the piston goes back and forth. This gets hot. You're not going to want to touch this after any amount of shooting. Wood lower forend, took a whole lot of fitting to get that to fit in as well. These come with the cleaning rods, which is nice. I know some of the American-made options by PSA don't actually come with the cleaning rod. So I wasn't too worried about that because I'm not going to use it much anyway. I cleaned this gun once and that might be the last time I ever cleaned this gun. At the front, we have the typical AK slant brake. This is nice because for me in the state of California, we can't have flash hiders on our guns if we want them to be featureless, which this gun is, meaning that I can run regular detachable magazines and I could use my legally acquired, currently, 30-round mags in this gun. Last but not least, it has the typical AK side mount, which I didn't use because I elected to go with a more modern Ultimac rail system that allows me to put the red dot on here. This, it works well. I put my face on the gun and the dot is right there. I really have no issues with this. I know some people are very concerned about using optics that aren't like an aim point because the heat. I know a ton of people that have run just the cheapo Bushnell TRS 25s on these kinds of mounts, and this Holosun is holding up just fine. They typically used to run about $750, but unfortunately in the day's current market in early 2021, these guns have been selling for about $1,200. That's much more expensive than the previous $750 to $800 that you could probably find them for about 2 years ago, but that's kind of just the world that we live in nowadays. Fit and finish. The thing about AKs, if you own an AK and you don't own a set of hammers, punches, and files, you're gonna have a bad time. Anytime you want to put anything on an AK, you're probably gonna need some sort of fitment, because there is no real standard when it comes to AKs. At the front of this gun, when I was installing the wood forend and the Ultimat gas rail, I had to hammer a ton to get the lower handguard retainer to actually bend into place. I had to file a bunch and just whittle down a bunch in order to get the wood to actually fit in properly. But coming from an AR guy, now I'm an AR fanboy all the way. I think ARs are superior to AKs in most ways. Coming from the AR platform where everything is just plug and play, you buy a part, you put it on your gun, and it works. There's no sawing, fiddling, filing, hammering. It just kind of, you put it on and the gun now works. I think that's great. AKs, they don't have that luxury. Now, this is what's considered a Yugo pattern rifle. Now, if you're going to go with any of the PAP series, like the ZPAP or anything by Zastava, their AKs don't necessarily work with traditional AKM or AK-47 furniture. So if you're going to be going with the ZPAP series firearm, make sure any modifications you plan on doing it will in fact work with it, because it's not super universal. Again, something that an AR fanboy like me, I'm not too keen on that, but all I gotta do is spend an extra 5 minutes looking online and I can figure out what I'm supposed to buy. When it comes to accuracy on this gun, it's an AK, I'm shooting cheap ammo, and I'm getting about what I would expect. Anywhere from 3 to 4 MOA, now that's 3 to 4 inch groups at 100 yards, and that was with either the Barnaul or the Tula. I'm not buying brass, I'm not buying expensive hollow point match-tipped bullets to shoot through this gun. This gun is a dirt shooting gun. I'm just going to shoot this gun fast because the ammo is cheaper than 5.56. Right now, nothing's cheap, but this is cheaper. It still gives me a lot of good bang. I love shooting this gun. Accuracy of about 3 to 4 inches at 100 yards. That's plenty for me, and that was consistent with both the Tula and the Barnaul ammunition. Reliability. This is the part that I think is going to really piss off some people. I've used a couple different types of mags through this gun. In the Bakelite mags with Barnaul ammunition, I had 3 stovepipes.
Recording.
Oh, I had a stovepipe the whole time. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't even realize. AKs are very reliable. I had 3 stovepipes with this gun in 1,000 rounds. Now, I shot 500 rounds of the Tula, no problems with those through any of the mags. I shot 500 rounds of Barnaul through this gun so far, and I have had 3 failures to eject, resulting in a stovepipe. Now, that was a very simple jam to clear, but it's just something that I want you to be aware of. I think when you look at the root cause of it, I think the ammunition might be inconsistently loaded, or there's some sort of ejection issue. I might need to get a new extractor or a new ejector, maybe disassemble the bolt, figure out what's going on. But in some of the bump fire videos or the rapid fire videos clips that I have, which I'll roll down below, you'll see that some of the rounds, like an AK, eject into the next goddamn state. Those things just fling super far. But some of them just kind of spit out really weak. And I think that there's something going on with my ejection. Now, that is just one type of ammunition, and it is just in one type of magazine. Could I get more magazines and different ammunition? Sure, but this gun has not been 1000% reliable, and I just want you all to be aware of that. Do I think it's a bad gun because of that? No. Maybe I got a lemon, who knows, but it hasn't been as reliable as the AK reputation and the AK crowd online would necessarily lead you to believe. Now, I haven't heard many people having the same issues that I've had, but could that be a thing that we see more people come out? If you know anyone, or if you have yourself had issues with the Yugo Zastava Zpap M70 with Bakelites or with Barnaul ammunition, sure, let me know. I would love to hear it. So let's talk about ergonomics. The bane of my existence when it comes to AKs. AKs are heavy. The reload process kind of sucks. There's no bolt hold open, and even if you use magazines that have bolt hold open, you still then have to take the magazine out, put a new one in, and then charge the handle again. I'm not super keen on how these guns work. Rock-in mags, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of rock-in mags on the Mini 14s. I'm not a fan of rock-in mags on Mini carbines or whatever it is, or the M1As. And on AKs especially, I am not a fan of rock-in mags. Is that something that you can train around and get used to so you don't get mag lock and get killed in the streets? Absolutely. But I think that if you had an AR person do that same amount of work, same amount of training, they would be just faster overall at reloading. Now, is an emergency reload where your gun goes dry something that you're probably going to ever find yourself in? Probably not. AKs have been used all over the world in all sorts of conflicts by all sorts of people to great effect. That being said, I live in 2021 and I have the ability to choose for my own self what kind of firearm I want to defend myself with, and I like having bolt hold open and bolt lock back because that can make reloading a much faster and easier process. Now, that being said, I can shoot this gun just fine. I can shoot this gun fairly accurately. It having more recoil definitely makes you slower than shooting a gun chambered in 5.56. This gun in 7.62, it shoots reasonably well. I'm not going to say that it's the greatest thing in the world. I think ARs typically perform faster and better, especially when it comes to ergonomics and general shootability, but this gun works, and AKs can be used to great effect to defend yourself. The main reason I don't like that it does not have any sort of bolt hold open is because, let's say you're shooting, and let's say you're in a home defense situation or a defensive situation, and you shoot a whole lot of rounds, and you don't realize that you're actually sitting on an empty mag with an empty chamber, and you don't necessarily think you have time to do an administrative reload where you top it off. You could just be sitting there, not knowing that you're actually on empty, and get a click. And man, that would suck, which is why I personally choose to go with ARs. Maybe if you are using an AK for defensive use, you might want to invest in some sort of follower with bolt hold open features, but that's just kind of one of the limitations. You got to know your gun, know how to use it, and train accordingly. If you're using a gun without bolt hold open, you got to kind of keep in mind how much you're firing, maybe try to do administrative reloads more often so you don't run into that situation. But that's why I'm not an AK person, because I made the smart choice. No, I made the right choice. No, I made the only choice to choose AR-15s as my defensive tool. Many of you like AKs, and that's why I'm reviewing an AK, and I like AKs too, but I think ARs are better. Now, why would you want an AK? Well, 7.62x39 is a pretty good hunting round, under 150 yards. A lot of people love hog hunting with these guns. AKs are very reliable typically. They can be great defensive guns. You know, getting shot by a 7.62x39 is no fun. A lot of people love these guns. A lot of people might have some familiarity with them, using them in the military. They might have a certain look appeal that you like. Maybe you're just into collecting firearms and you want to own guns from all over the world. I think that's a perfectly valid reason. Maybe you just want to LARP around on the flat range with a ski mask like your boy. And I think those are all great reasons to own AKs. Now, is this specific one a good one to get? While the price is significantly higher than it used to be, I think that this is an excellent option for an imported AK. If you're going to be buying an AK in 2021, I would recommend buying a foreign-made AK that's imported. The reason being is foreign-made imported AKs are most likely going to be one of the first things and the easiest things that the Biden administration can ban through executive action. We saw this with the Saigas. We can no longer get any more imported Saiga AKs, which were formerly one of the best ones that you could get. If you're in the AK market, buy an import. I think that the Zpap M70 is an excellent option. These guns really do work. They have an excellent reputation online. I haven't had many people mention any issues with canted front sights. Now, things might be a little funky because AKs are a little funky. Fit and finish, never going to be perfect. You're always going to need a hammer typically to get a lot of parts installed. AKs have some quirks, but I think they're excellent guns. Would I recommend you buying this gun? Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of great places you can get it. When it comes to actually buying one, if you're in the state of California, you might want to look into some middleman services. New Frontier Armory is a great option. You can buy an AK online, buy any firearm online. You can send it to them for a small fee, at which point they can convert it to a California compliant configuration and then send it to an FFL near you. So if you're actually looking to acquire one of these guns, here's my best recommendation for keeping track of when they're going to be available. Go ahead and follow Zastava Arms USA or whatever it is on Instagram. When they post that they just got in a big shipment of AKs from the Serbian factories, typically what that means is in about 2 weeks' time from that point when they post about that, you will start seeing them at Primary Arms, Sportsman's, Brownells, basically every retailer online that is in the AK market or that does sell them. Within about 2 weeks of them landing stateside, they will start showing up. And for about 2 weeks, you'll see them. You'll then go a few weeks without seeing any on the market because they've all sold. At which point, Zastava Arms USA will post again that they got another batch, another shipment of AKs in, and then the cycle continues. So if you're looking to get one, that's my recommendation. All in all, I think this is a good option. It's a good AK. They shoot well. Mine hasn't been perfectly reliable, but I think I might have just got a bad batch of ammo, which isn't unreasonable with the cheap, shitty ammo that you are buying when you feed an AK to go shoot at trash. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace. I really do want to say thank you to everyone that supports this channel through Subscribestar. It's people like you, people that buy the merch, people that support this channel by liking, commenting, subscribing. Really, that's why I'm able to do this stuff. That's why I was able to get this gun. I'm thankful to have the support of the community. I think this channel has kind of grown a lot in the last year. Definitely wasn't expecting to be where I am today. I'm thankful to have your support, and really, again, just thank you. Hair back. Gang shit. Safety first, except for in that shot where I just completely didn't pay any attention to safety.